Yep, that's all set up.
And there you go, which means we're now ready
Excellent.
to go. We're just waiting for...
Huh?
Yeah, we're now ready to go. Um,
Oh, there we go. Apparently, it said apparently someone was already in the share play, and I was like, hang on a minute, there's only us two.
it's Peaky coming out of nowhere again.
No, he's not on. And also, where I've where I've just jumped back on.
Mm.
There we go. There's the notification.
Yep, we're live finally. Took a while.
Yep.
YouTube being YouTube.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's only 11.
Yeah.
The reverse grid's not really going to be that effective.
I mean, the poor soul who ends in 11th. Someone has to.
Someone asked. I have a feeling I know who is. I'm not going to say. I have a feeling. Yeah, I have this inkling suspicion. I know who. I have a guess who's going to be 11th.
Yeah, something tells we're about to hear pile on a little bit of misery on that BRD, or more on Claws, one of the two.
I was actually thinking more the BRZ.
Yeah,
Not
wouldn't be
no offense to them at all, but the car has no straight line at all.
in
That
terms of straight
that
line. We
Lexus,
have no straight line.
the Lexus is faster in a straight line.
Yeah, I've yeah, I cannot wait for the stewards this week because so being in the McLaren, right? I thought, yeah, I've lost 4 points this week, perfectly fine. It's Le Mans. It's literally the straight line speed of all straight line speed tracks.
Mm.
If I was going to lose anything, that's probably the race I'd lose something. I only lost 4 on pre-stewards, but Pagel was about to get 10 seconds worth of penalties. I'll drop him to 7th.
Ouch.
So it'll go from being 10 points back to being 2 points back.
Oh, ouch.
We might have a decent decent little championship fight brewing in Tier 3. Wax there as well. Wack end up beating me to the line in Le Mans by half a second. 1-2.
Oh. It was
Yeah.
close then.
Yeah. Well, if close is defined by a lot of false hope, then sure, we can say it was close. The man went into the final lap 5.5 seconds up.
Wow, Jesus. Just watch the stewards only give like 0.4 of a second penalty, so you still lose
Lad,
out.
if Pagel if Pagel only gets 5 seconds worth of penalties, I'm gonna cry. Because the difference between getting 5 seconds worth of penalties and 10 seconds worth of penalties is 8 championship points.
Jeez.
Because he was also very clear of everyone else. Well, I say of everyone else. Geordie was on the back of him, but Geordie getting 10 seconds for being a clown as well. So,
There's our Geordie.
yeah, it's Tier 3, killing everything and everyone in sight.
I'm surprised it's tier 3 this time, not tier 2, but then again, we haven't even seen tier
I'd
2
say
yet.
we haven't gone through Tier 2 yet. Past the Tier 2 chat only, please. No. No, we're hijacking the stream now. It's not a Tier 2 on anymore. I lured you all in. It's actually 4 straight streams of Tier 4. You just you've been bamboozled.
The live commentary has been hijacked. You will give in to our demands.
God. Yeah. Okay, we'll give it a couple of minutes and we'll get going.
Yeah.
But 4 laps in the sprint. 10 laps in the feature. The real question is, who do you think is going to win the sprint here?
My predict, well, Dan's a really strong contender. Ben's also a strong contender, but I know from experience from last season, the FT1 is not a car to look away from on the straight, nor is that Supra with Chris. If Chris can get up there, I reckon Chris will be a good contender since this track is basically turn straight, turn straight.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the one that's managed to win 4 of the 5 sprints we've watched so far.
We're going to go with Ben.
Who's on pole position again, may I add?
He is. I'm actually going to go with Denz.
Okay, so you're going to vary it up just a little bit.
I'm going Denz.
Didn't Dan... So we're currently... This is race number 6, aren't we? 4 for Ben, 1 for Dan in sprint races, right?
Tell you. Stand by, I'll tell you.
Because I'm pretty sure someone else won the Laguna sprint and Ben won the 4 prior to that.
Right. So, Ben has won every single sprint apart from last week, and Dan won both races last week.
Yeah, so it was Dan. It was okay. So, so Dan's done a little bit of a roll. Unfortunately, I don't think his car's going to help him out here. But yeah, I can't go against the guy that's seemingly running sprint races at this point in this tier anyway.
I know, I get that. I'm looking at Denz's performance as the standing sheet, and Denz is always not that far behind. There's been a couple of points where he's been second and third, so I reckon this is going to be Denz's sprint.
Fair enough. Right. I think we might be about 5 minutes in, though. Never mind, I'd looked again, and we're about 8 minutes in. Definitely didn't run over. So let's run through the grid and then get going with this a little bit quicker, as we've just wasted 10 minutes of everyone else's lives. But yeah, so Ben's on pole. Denz is second on the front row alongside him. We'll see if he can get a good enough launch. We got Dan in third, Broomer in fourth, which is one of his highest starts in a sprint race, I'm pretty sure. Let's see if he is actually going to be able to hold it this time. Chris in fifth, Pasty in sixth in the Mazda, which could be particularly interesting. Faxon in seventh in the McLaren. Asseldor in 8th, Wesley in 9th. It could be a really bad day at the office for him. Perry in 10th, and Claude's at the back of the grid. Only 11 this time. And so, relatively small grid for a relatively large track. I'm pretty sure it's actually the second largest track we have outside of the Nordschleife. Because, of course, you aren't really doing much with the Nordschleife anymore. But yeah. Let's get going. We got 3, 4, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go down toward turn 1 here at Le Mans. Who's going to get a better start? It certainly wasn't Denz, because he wheel spinned off the start, which means that Ben has definitely got himself away. Can he keep himself in front with a straight line speed? And he will down into the first chicane of the entire lap. Everyone seemingly surviving the first chicane. They go through and 2 by 2 basically the entire way down the grid. And Ben gets a half-second penalty straight away.
I'm just looking a bit further back through the grid. We got Arfax got a terrible start. We got Dan all over the back of Denz as well.
Also, doesn't look like Chris got a good start either, dropping from 5th all the way down to 7th. Asseldor got a absolutely blazing start up to 8th as well. So we've got mixed starts along the grid here. Broomer lost a place, Pasty's gained a couple, Asseldor's gained a couple, albeit Broomer might be getting that back with Asseldor bumping him down the street, and Ben has already cleared probably a second gap by the looks of things down this straight.
He probably has, but Chris, don't put Chris out there. That Supra is an absolute weapon down the straight, especially in slipstream. Here comes Chris up the inside. It's going to make it 3 wide as there's a little bit of contact there. The
I
Lexus
think,
goes a little bit wide, probably a little bit of contact.
yeah, definitely contact between Chris and Asseldorf, forced Asseldorf through the middle of the chicane. Somehow he's not got a penalty for it, but Chris went way too deep in the exit of the chicane and did pull himself off with a half-second penalty.
We've got Perry giving Chris a nice bump draft going down the second part of the Montauk Straights. Chris can have another look up the inside of Asseldorf. Perry might even try and come with him as we've got Pasti still there as well. Chris up the inside. This time there is a little bit of argy-bargy. Perry and Pasti going at it as well. Everyone seems to have survived so far.
Yep, surviving for now.
It's a weird sentence to say from Tier 2. I don't think we've ever said that this season.
I think that might be the clearest turn 1 I've ever seen from from this Tier 2 anyway. Also, our Faxon has somehow found himself behind the Subaru, which is an impressive feat in a straight line, that's a certain... Oh, Chris has gone deep! Chris has gone very deep! I almost tagged our Faxon on the way through.
So did Asseldorf. Asseldorf went very deep as well, and Arfax has got a half-second penalty.
Well, we were going through, and at the start of the race, you said don't count out Chris, so I'm going to count out Chris now, because he's already tailed off.
He has. Looking a bit further up grid, we've got Dan and Ben swap for the lead. We have a swap. Only
triple.
Took half a lap as Ben's got a second penalty. He's been picked up onto the curb as we got a little spin in the background, or nearly a spin in the background just there at the entrance of the bus stop. Denz is all over the back of Ben, but Ben's going to drop off due to that 1 second penalty, which will promote Denz up to second, but Brimmer in third. Ben peels back in. Pasti's probably going to have a little bit of a go coming up towards the Porsche S's.
Oh, it's going to have a look.
And Asseldorf side by side along with Wesley, who try potentially making it a 2x2 situation. No, 2. Wesley gets Asseldorf as we've got Perry going up the inside. He gets the move done on Claus as Wesley tries to capitalise on Claus's wide liner. Still going through. Wesley still tries with Asseldorf having a little look for Wesley.
Yeah, and the amount of different lines we're seeing down the straight here, down the Porsche curve, here, is absolutely ridiculous. Ben and Pasti are going at it, this time into a chicane, which probably isn't the smartest thing two people could ever do at this track. But Ben is going to make it work on the inside. Pasti pulling out very early to make sure that he doesn't... Oh, he gets a little bit of gravel kicked up on the way out of that second chicane, and that will just allow for Perry to stroll on through up into 5th.
It does. Now, going back to our little prediction earlier, you said you reckon Ben's going to win this. You still feeling confident with that?
I mean, he had a 1 second time penalty. I still feel extremely confident that he's the fastest car on the track, and there's still 3 laps to go.
It's a long race, I love it.
Yeah, if he can get himself back into Brummer's slipstream, he'll have another shot. But if he can't, then it'll be game over sooner rather than later. Unfortunately, I think when you trust one of the faster cars in the hands of one of the faster people, it's more than likely he's going to get that second chance.
He is, as we've got Claus, Pasti and Perry all quite close together just in the back of our shop. Are they going to bump draft each other, or are they going to have an attack?
Well,
We've got Wesley going quite well as well. We've got Pasti is going to bump draft.
I was about to say, when it comes to strategy around Le Mans, if you're not in the slipstream, you need to, of the guy in front, you need to help the guy get into slipstream, because it'll benefit you in the long run. So you can't be overtaking.
A little bit wide. Sorry, coming out of that corner. Yep, he gets a half-second penalty. He also, I think, kissed the wall as well.
Either way, he didn't get damage from it. Wesley also picking up half a second in the background there. As we're currently going down into the second chicane here on the Mulsanne, and we'll see whether or not there's going to be a move made here. Pasti and Perry are the two that's going into the chicane, and there isn't going to be a move here made by either car, but Claus is looking to the outside, and it's not going to turn out too well as he loses ground rather than gains ground on the 2 cars directly in front of him as they get Ben into their sights as well.
Ben not in any slipstream at all, and Perry being pushed along. As we go a bit further forward, we got Denz and Dan having a battle coming up towards the hairpin corner and looking a bit further back on the mini-map. Does everyone live? No one's been annihilated from what I can see so far, which is good to see. Den's in a good position, I'd say, to probably look at taking a sprint win, but why is he not using the slip there?
Not entirely sure, but if I were Dens, I would rather be in this position this time in one lap's time as they come toward the end of any sort of overtaking opportunity to the lap. This is realistically the last chance Dan's going to hold on. But yeah, Dens is one of those, is in a good position. If this was the end of the third lap, he'll be able to take that slipstream down the Mulsanne in the fourth lap, make a move or two and make it stick. We've got a little bit of a fight in the background there. I want to see what just happened. I think someone just got pushed a little bit deep. You know, Wedley, who's got a penalty again.
That was from earlier.
It's from earlier, yeah. Hasseldor down the inside of Chris here. And yeah, Chris goes a little bit deep, and Hasseldor will just breeze on by up into ninth. Wedley served his penalty now. Still on the racing line at the point in time, but who's going to overtake him? So there goes Hasseldor. Will Chris and halfback to go as well? And yep, that half-second penalty has relegated Wedley to the back of the grid.
It has, and Chris not having a great race so far, is he? He's in the quickest straight line car on the whole grid, and he's stuck. He's stuck in the bottom four, isn't he? As that Arfax gets a little squiggly just there as he comes through the latter half of the Porsche S's.
Yeah, and we've seen before that if you make one mistake, especially at Le Mans, there's no real way back into it. And we saw that with Chris earlier, now going down the inside of Hasseldor, out the Corvette curves and now into the final couple of chicanes on the lap. And Chris is going to get himself some free air and possibly a chance to move forward now.
It'd be good for Chris. It'd also be good for Hasseldor as we got a little squiggle back there. Was that who was that? Who's just dropped up right off the back? Wesley.
Yeah,
Wesley
Wesley.
got a bit squiggly over the curbs.
That Subaru betraying him very, very much in this entire season. Never mind just today.
I think that's his race over as we got Pasty and Perry having a good little fight coming under the Dunlop tyre, side by side going down the hill. Perry still keeps the place. As we got Claude having a go at Pasty as well.
Pasty's in a good position here, though, being second in the DRS train. Well, I say DRS as if I'm still not out of F1 mode. In the slipstream training here, is a good position to be in. The third man is never in the best position, and that'll be Claude in this little train that we're seeing. But the Genesis has good straight line speed, so maybe that Genesis can hold on for just a little while longer.
Looking, further up, sorry to interrupt, we got Ben and Brummer. Ben's just past Brummer as we got Claus looking at passing Pasty on the inside. He doesn't quite manage to do it.
Oh, that's a bit on the inside there from Pasty, isn't it?
It is. He doesn't get a penalty yet, so maybe he lifted.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting choice of line there from Pasty, and it'll allow for Claude to take up 6th place for now, as he's now going to go back alongside. They're going down the straight. The BMW, I'm pretty sure, has a faster straight line speed than the Mazda, but he'll take this going down into the second chicane here. Pasty on the outside, Claude on the inside. They're still side by side. Pasty with the inside line, you would expect to be able to make just a little bit more of a run as they come together, and somehow both cars get out of that.
I fair play. They both tried to keep that as clean as possible, as they're still not quite side by side, and Pasty gets the better of Claude in that circumstances. But if I just drag your attention back up, Denz and Dan both having a battle with Brummer and Ben close behind.
Yep, Brummer got back up into 3rd position right now, which means that this is what I was saying earlier. If I was Denz, I would love the position I'm in right now. The position I was in last lap would be precarious, but now, going into the almost heading towards Indianapolis in the 3rd lap, this, if he can hold on, is an extremely good position to have going into the final lap.
It is we got Ben having a lunge up the inside of Brummer there, who gets the spot as Dan goes really wide. Denz can't quite capitalise as Ben is got Brummer, so Ben is now back in the top 3. He's going to be hunting down these top 2, and he's tasting blood. He wants that win, doesn't he?
Yep, and when you've got, well, you've got lead of the race, decided that he doesn't like tarmac anymore. This is not good play, not a good time for Dan. He's got a faster FT1 approaching behind him, and he's got a little bit of a dirty tyre now.
He does. And also, Dent has now got Ben behind him. And Ben is on a mission. As we're watching him now, he's 6/10 purple. Going through that last sector just there, so I reckon by the Monson Straight, Ben will have a go at Dens.
Yeah,
if his plate gets close.
It's all going to be about how well they take certain particular corners. These chicanes now become more and more vital as we go lap through lap. And we're on to the final lap now. One good run here, and you could be set up for an absolute beauty of a final lap. Let's see if anyone's going to get a good enough run as we head toward the Dunlop tyre in the final lap of this sprint race. Dan's still going to hold up against Dens with about 4 minutes to go in this race.
Yeah, and Ben just set almost a whole second of a lap faster on lap 3 than lap 2. He is pretty much a second faster, almost 2 seconds faster than Den's at the moment. If you go, one more. He's 2 seconds faster than Dan on the previous lap alone.
Yeah, exactly 2 laps, which means Ben has got to run, and he knows what he's doing. Here we go again, and now it's going to be the BMW versus the FT1 heading down into the first chicane on the Mulsanne straight. Who's going to get an advantage here? We might be looking towards a 2 or a 3 wide down into the end of the first chicane.
We're looking at 3 wide. As Den goes at the inside of Dan, gets pushed through by Ben, so Dens is in the lead, but I'm not sure for how much longer, because here comes Dan under the brakes on Ben.
And he's not going to get it. He's not going to get it. Ben scouted that from a long way away and knew what he needed to do. The problem for Dens now is that you've got the fastest guy on the track by a country mile right behind you, and not a lot of time to defend.
If I was Dens in this position, I'd be probably weaving a little bit left and giving Dan a little bit of slipstream to keep Dan in the play to attack Ben, because Ben is using Den's slipstream right now, which Dan's not. But Dan has got better brakes as he's not quite able to get alongside, so Dan slots in behind Ben. Dens leads.
I think Dens may have just gone slightly too deep there as well, so he's cost himself some times, if not also a penalty. And here comes Ben, who's right back up onto the back of Dens after Dens got a little bit of a gap coming out the first of the chicanes on the Mulsanne straight. The second one didn't treat him as nicely as we now heading into the hairpin at the end of the Mulsanne straight. Here comes Ben, who launches round the outside. Is he going to be able to hang this on the outside? No, he isn't. Dens is going to hang on for just a little while longer.
Dens does a beautiful job of placing the car in the right position, and just looking a little further back, I think Pasty just looked like he went a little bit wide, but we'll stay with this group for the time being. It looks like the 3 of them are almost pushing each other. As we got Dan, has got an excellent run on Ben. Ben just keeps pushing along Dens to try and keep Dan at bay.
And here we go. This is realistically
inside. This is going to end in tears, I think.
It's going to end.
Not making this.
It's going to end in tears if you're Dens, because he's had the lead taken away from him, the last available opportunity, as Ben has just launched one and got all the way to the front of the grid, and Dan is going to take his second place off him too, and all of a sudden he's gone from a sprint race win to a sprint race third in the matter of 2 corners.
Unlucky from Dens, but it's still not over. There's still potential second place up for grabs. As we got Brummer and Dens, but Brummer looking up the inside of Dens. Teammates, this is not what you want to be doing right now on the last lap. I think Dan's got slightly better of Dens.
Yeah, there's not a lot left in terms of an overtaking opportunity. With a couple of corners left on the final lap of this sprint race, they go through the Porsche curve to the final time, now heading down to the final couple of chicanes, and provided there isn't a mistake, he's going to make it 5 from 6, as Ben is 4 corners now, 2 corners away from another sprint win. And from all the way in fourth a lap ago, and that shows how much it can change in Le Mans in one lap as Ben gets over the line to win the sprint race here at Le Mans and makes it 5 from 6 on the season.
Great drive from Ben as we got Dan in second, we got Dens in third, we got Brummer in fourth. Hasty holding on in fifth position, we got Perry in sixth, we got Claus with a great end to his sprint in seventh, we then got Chris in eighth, Wesley ninth, Dawn 10th, and I think it's Arfax in 11th, isn't it?
Yeah, neither of us predicted that Arfax would be at the bottom of the grid. He's the one that's going to miss out in the reverse grid order as well in this one.
And the pair of us did not anticipate, no offence here, Claus or Wesley up as high as they were.
Yeah, and well, I can safely say I got the result of the sprint right. You don't back against the odds-on favourite. Come on,
you've got to mix it up.
You've got to back the one that essentially made a name for itself in the sprint races so far this season, and that is Ben. And well, here comes tyres to screw him over in the feature race. So I'm definitely not going to follow up by saying that he's going to win the feature. I can promise you that much.
Let's see what happens. I am interested to see what the Lexuses do this race. They have got fuel advantage over everybody.
Yeah, potential 4-6 on the fuel here for Lexus. And it could give them a little bit of a...
the Chevrolet ground quick.
Yeah, you're right. It could give the Lexuses just a little bit of a advantage to get the 4-6 done. Maybe get a little bit of an undercut, run a little bit of a little bit less traffic as well.
Because they're in an interesting position because Dawn's in first. He's on a soft. We then got Wesley in second. He's also good on tyres and fuel. We then got Chris in third, also on a soft. We got Claus in fourth on a soft as well.
I can't imagine anybody not being on a soft here. The tyre wear isn't that high at Le Mans, but it'll be a case of 5 laps in, then might see a couple of dead tyres, and that's about it.
We got Perry in fifth on the soft. We got Pasty in sixth on the soft. Brummer in seventh on the soft. We got Dens in eighth on the soft. We got Down in ninth on the soft. Ben in 10th on a soft, and we got Arfax, unfortunately, in last place on a soft as well. So the whole grid's on softs.
And that's how you can tell the difference in the tyre wear in a race. If Ben starts on a soft tyre, that's usually the indication. Because Ben's tyres are unholy bad, especially this season. So we've seen him have to get creative in these feature races in order to actually do something to potentially help his championship hopes. He's usually conquering the sprint races with ease when it comes to the actual driver's pace on its own and no sort of strategy involvement whatsoever. Well, now we've got the 40-minute race that does require just a little bit of strategy, a little bit of change between driver to driver, and a little bit more traffic as well, which usually means a little bit more skill is necessary.
It does. Now, before we go, let's do the same in what we did last time. What's your prediction? Who wins? Considering we know that chaos is guaranteed, who do you think?
This is tier 2. Chaos is always guaranteed. I wouldn't. You see, I can't really enjoy doing this because I do know the outcome of this feature race because I was in the party, which is a little bit unfortunate. So I can't predict and do it in good faith because I do know who the final result. But nonetheless, go ahead. What are you thinking?
If Chris can pass Dawn and Wesley quick, I reckon it's Chris's race to lose. I reckon Dan and Ben are going to charge through the field again, and I reckon it's going to be close. I am probably going to put my money on Dan.
Interesting.
Simply
Well,
because the Lexus fuel tank is vastly superior compared to the rest of the cars. Dan has won the past couple of races. He's never been outside the top 3, if I'm correct. Let's have a little look. He's never been outside the top 5, sorry.
yeah, you
He's
can.
always been in the top 5. He's always been very consistent.
I
So
can
I
understand.
reckon it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I reckon it's going to be Dan's race to lose.
Yeah, no, and going back to what I just said about 30 seconds ago, you don't bet against the guy that's the odds-on favourite, I guess. But this is going to be relatively interesting. The traffic is going to play the biggest part. It's not the easiest place to overtake because of all the slipstream, the long-ass straights that usually play more of a factor. But let's not waste any more time and let's follow Asseldor through the exit of this final chicane and down to the line as he starts on pole, reverse grid pole here in the feature. 10 laps of Le Mans has just got underway, with Asseldor heading with a rather large gap down toward turn 1.
Wesley just hasn't seemed to have gotten that car to go, as we got Chris right on his tail in third. As we got Perry not far behind us. Chris has a little look at the inside, gets side by side with Wesley. Does he get the exit speed? I think he does from the looks of it. He does. They're still side by side going under the tyre, and Claus is there as well. Claus is now side by side with Wesley. Claus has got the inside line, but Wesley has just got that better cornering speed than that BMW.
Yeah, Wesley just hung that very nicely around the outside, never gave Claude any chance of responding, but unfortunately this is the point where the acceleration that Subaru is going to shoot him in the foot. If he can get Claude's help, he might be able to go back after Chris. The slipstream definitely going to be stronger back here compared to just in front. Chris isn't quite up to as close to Asseldor as he would want it to be at the beginning of this race. Asseldor, however, has a half-second penalty off the beginning, and here comes Chris to the inside, never mind, from quite a distance back. Who's going to have this? Claude also trying to make a name as he goes to the outside. I think Chris just got hit on the way through. Let's have another look at that. Yep. A collision.
Chris got hit by Claus, I think.
No, it was Asseldor. It was Asseldor who was too far on the inside and then couldn't come back enough to avoid Chris and cross.
They're still at it. There's still contact going on. As we now got Wesley in 6th. We got Claus in 5th. Chris in 4th, and we got Hasty and Perry taking advantage of that. And Perry up to 2nd, Hasty up to 3rd, but not for much longer, as we got Dens, Brumer and Chris all looking at the inside. We got 2 with 1 and then a 3 behind. Has everyone survived? Has everyone come all through this clean? I think Claus is just taking the inside. Chris is not knowing where the track is. He thinks he's going back off home. So we've got a Mazda running a little wide as well. And whilst all this is going on, Asseldor is just saying goodbye. I'm gone.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that happened in a small period of time there. Brumer's up to 4th as well, as he's just decided to start driving all of a sudden the last couple of weeks. If he can limit the mistakes, he might be able to find himself a little bit of a place here. In Tier 2, we've got a bit of a problem here. I think that's Perry that's had a bit of an issue down here on lap 1 at the end of the Mulsanne Straight.
Let's have a look.
Yep. Oh yeah, way too deep. Way too deep. And he's in trouble now.
He is. Bromo just says, thank you very much. I'll have that.
I think Pasty might be about to say the same thing. He's passed as well, and he should be able to slip just back in front of Perry as Perry drops from 2nd to 5th almost immediately. Chris and Brumer now going side by side as they head down towards Indianapolis on the first lap here. The half a second penalty for Brumer, that'll drag him back towards Pasty and Perry. Half a second for Asseldor will give Chris the lead of the race.
It will. As we got... Who else is... As we got Ben.
Oh, we've got a problem in the background! We have a huge problem in the background.
Who was that?
I think it was purple. The car was purple. I am going to assume that means it's Claus. Let's have a look at what happens here. Claus is fine. Oh, he's tagged Wesley and Dan as well, who couldn't get himself round because of the no ghosting rule we put in this season.
So Claus in one lap has gone from what, second or third down to absolute plumb last. Dan's not getting any traction at all. He's got a half-second penalty. I know we've got 9 laps to go, but he's not looking good for him right now. As we got Wesley in 9th, we got Arfax in 8th, so we got Dan with a 1-second time penalty in 6th. Den's in 7th, so we're moving up the grid. We got Perry in 5th. We've got Brummer in 4th. We've got Pasty in 3rd. Alcedorn in 2nd. And we got Chris taking advantage of all of that in 1st.
Yeah, absolute chaos on the first lap. Penalties galore. A couple of people going too deep. Claus decided that braking wasn't a thing. It was absolutely incredible to see that in that first lap, Ben, with the second penalty as well. After, I assume he got that in Indianapolis. I'm not entirely sure. We'll see how that affects him on the next lap. Obviously, it'll drop him a couple of positions if everything stays as it is, but this is Group 3 racing. Not everything stays as it is for very long.
No, it doesn't. Excuse me. As we got Chris taking us in the lead to ruins turn 1, as we got Dens with a 3-second time penalty.
Did he do? Where do you get a 3-second penalty?
Did he cut the corner or last corner, you reckon? Huh?
That did not look like a overly oblivious chicane. He just missed the corner here or something. That's a very hefty penalty. What did he manage to do? Oh, Jesus. That's a corner there, Dens. You have to stay within the white line as well. That's not how you do that. And yeah, you're going to get free. Still think 3 seconds is rather harsh for that chicane. But
I'd say that's quite harsh.
I think that's Le Mans track limits for you. Here comes Brummer.
I'll let you take over. We got Brummer and Hasty. Why do you keep saying Pasty? It's not Pasty, it's
That's
Pasty.
because it's Pasty, it's English.
It is English. I can't speak English today.
It's Pasty. I swear to God, if you say pasty, you Black Charizard's going to jump into the stream and try and murder you for it. Yeah, it's definitely one of those things. I'm very sure all the Cornwall people are not too happy with you right now.
It's only Cornwall.
That's exactly how you're meant to respond to that. Also, it got very grey very quickly, may I add. As Perry is now going to the inside of Brummer, as he's going to try and take the bottom step on the podium. As it stands, Perry in the Genesis, the FT1 of Brummer on the outside. What are they going to do as they come down to the first chicane in the Mulsanne Straight? And Perry is clean and ahead of...
Arfax goes a little deep going through that corner. Whether he had a little nudge, I'm not sure. As Dens is still there, but still got his 3-second penalty. Arfax, if I was Arfax, I'd be giving Dens a little bit of a push now. Try and get onto the back of Ben.
The problem is... good luck getting to him at this point, especially if they go down to the end of the second chicane. We're going to go a little bit further forward because we might have a freeway again. Brummer, Pasty, and Perry this time. And Brummer's going to come out the victor of that one. Brummer in third, Pasty in fourth. Perry, a sitting duck as he gets overtaken by multiple people down into the second chicane on the Mulsanne Straight.
He does, and Chris is disappeared. Chris is no longer in this picture, as Pasty's got a half-second penalty.
And so did Perry.
Got a second penalty.
And Ben somehow picked up an extra second and a half from the last time we saw it. So it's just penalty central here, Le Mans.
It is, as we now got Dens and Arfax now tucked on the back of this, as Pasty gets it all sorts of wrong. And Dens now capitalises, so does Arfax. Now Ben's managed to grab Perry.
We've got rain!
Here comes the rain. We have rain on lap 2 of Le Mans.
Oh, the real question is how heavy is that going to get? It's getting pretty heavy. You can see it in the foreground and on the hydrometer in the bottom corner as well.
Everyone's got... Surely you're coming in for Inters. I'm looking at the bottom left and you're not. This is now Inter territory, so we're going to see a lot of people going very wide now. wets. We got Pasty going around the outside of our facts. Pasty manages to get around the outside in the rain of our facts.
Who's going to make the mistake? We've got mistake central.
Oh my god!
Everyone and anyone here. Here we go, down toward the final corner before the penalty line. What's Hasseldor done here? Oh, he just broke too deep. Too late, straight to a wall.
Way too deep, because everyone seems to think that gravel track is a car park. Oh my god, there's so many cars off. Right,
Ben's
so we got Dennis in third with his penalty. So Dennis is going to keep third. We've got Ben in fourth. We've got Jesus Christ.
Everyone and anyone just changed there. Our Faxons managed to jump up into third, taking advantage of Hasseldor's mistake and the penalty for both Dent and Ben.
I think there's a spinner. Right, keep going back. There's a spinner.
You're right, there's a bit of a couple of spinners. What has happened here?
We got the two BMWs at the back of the grid.
Oh! Ben's had a bit of more of an issue. We're going to take this one as on board with Chase. Oh my Jesus Christ, you're not getting any sort of speed here. Oh, and he tags Hasseldor on the way through. And then gets on the grass, tries to get back on and just could not get the car. As the rain is just impacting everyone and anyone in the middle of lap 2 here, and his teammate. Oh, the teammate just comes off the line and just starts 360ing as well, almost catches it.
I love how his teammate.
What is going on with the BMW? Jesus Christ Almighty!
What is going on? We're going to have to take a couple of minutes to go through this. I think. What is going on?
The rain has.
Drummer in second, our facts in third.
We're not actually. We're going to have to run this back just a little bit further because I think Chris has had a moment here as well. Just broke too deep into the wall and then into the gravel as well. He's too deep. Broomer's gone just a little bit too deep as well. No brakes on that car. No, I don't even know where the hell our faction's going and where the hell is Wesley and Pasty going? And there's Tad as well. What the hell is going on here?
Oh my god, this is carnage. Everyone, boys, this is not a car park. This is a racetrack.
Perry somehow stayed on the track.
I think Perry's just used to driving in rainy and hurricane-like conditions, so he's able to brake nice and early and get through.
What the hell is going on? There's also Pasty, who has just decided to take the escape road at the top of your screen. No one can keep their car in a straight line. There goes the Faxon again. Hasseldor is all over the place as we're into wet territory on the grid now. This is absolute carnage. I don't know what I'm watching. Pasty's just all over the place. Dan's still here. Perry. Chris is off the track now again. Broomer's somehow in the lead of the race. I don't think I've seen a more hectic 3 minutes in my life.
No, I haven't. Chris was somehow ghosted. I don't know how he became ghosted, as we got Dan in fourth. We got Chris in third, and it's about to... Jesus. That was nearly contact there as well, so we got...
Gotta be pits here.
Everybody has to come in, as no one's going to be able to stop this.
Who's going into that pit lane chicane, that pit lane wall? That's the real question.
Let's keep whizzing back. Let's see who has a moment going in. Everyone seems to be doing okay at the moment. Just looking further back.
Oh, there's Pasty. There it is. There's the one.
you can always rely on the Cornish for something.
Yeah, our Faxon managed to get there. Ben's got 5 seconds of penalty somehow. Everyone did. There has to be, at the very least, intermediate tyres going on every car in this race. I'm not going to lie to you. I would be going on intermediates here. I don't think it's going to rain for long enough for wets to be a factor.
No.
So if I would just bear up. Never mind. Never mind. Apparently I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, that took a little bit long to update for a minute then. I thought it...
Yeah, it did.
And look, we were already at...
Has anybody managed to gain time in the pits? So we got Chris on full wets. As we got Hasseldor on inters, not knowing where the track goes. As we got Dent on inters. We've got Wesley on wets.
Can I just point out how Pasty's in 8th now, but can I just point out how we're already on intermediate weather and everyone is on a wet tyre? Well, most of the people are on a wet tyre. It doesn't. This game never rains hard enough for wets to realistically be a viable option. I'm not entirely sure why everyone's gone there.
Oh, Ben's done something interesting. Ben has not fueled up. He's gained 2 positions by just changing tyres.
Well, he's also got a 5-second time penalty.
But yeah, so but he's not fueled up. Now, everyone else has fueled up to 100%, apart from Ben. Now, obviously, everyone's going to have to come in again, but is this track going to dry? Is it going to rain again? That's the thing now. Bruno's got a comfortable lead from the looks of things. So we've got Perry in second, we've got Dan in third, Chris in fourth, Asselborn in fifth. We've got Dens and Wesley, I think, having a nice little battle at the moment. No, Wesley's
Wesley spun. Wesley spun it. Never mind. Commentated curse and a half right there. Oh, he's done more than spin it. There's a car there, Wesley.
He's done a good job of missing the car and the barriers. Credit given where credit is due. However, I'm not sure on the rejoin, because he's rejoined right on the racing line, right in front of Basti and Ben.
This is absolute carnage.
It is. We're only on lap 3.
This track should dry up again. If it was still raining, going 7 laps on a tank of fuel probably wouldn't be too difficult. But
I reckon the Lexus drivers can probably do that. I think that's probably, what they're probably going to try and do.
He's going to get it slowed down. He is going to get that slowed down. That is extremely good there from Ben. His teammate nearly sacrificed him to the gods for that second chicane. But I guess if you're getting the bump drafting right, that's what it looks like.
It does, then. Here comes Claus on the inside of Basti. They're going to side by side. There's a little bit of nudging, argy-bargy. Claus has got the inside, but bear in mind it's still wet conditions as Claus breaks a little bit later. He's going to be able to get it stopped. He just about gets it stopped.
What?
Ben takes it wide, Claus goes wide, and Basti gets the drive coming out of the corner, and here comes Basti up on the inside, coming up to these, I'm going to say, kinky part of the straight, because, well, there's 2 kinks. Basti gets it before the first kink. Claus gives him a little bit of a push, and now they're in Ben's slipstream. Comes Claus up the inside. I'm going to be the good teammate and give him slip. No, he's not.
Oh, that didn't look too good there. A little bit of contact between the two of them, and now Claude gets to brake a lot more on the outside, on the intermediate, and straight into the gravel he goes.
Yeah. He's straight back on the racing line. Here comes Wesley. Wesley gets past Claus.
Also, can I just say, that looked like a dryish line already starting to fall.
Yes. I just spotted that, and I'm looking at the meter down at the bottom left of our screen. Well, I mean, Claus isn't doing it. Claus is making it look a lot better than it currently is, but here we go. This is intermediate territory. That track is drying.
Comfortably intermediate territory. The guys on the wets are going to suffer for a little while longer. Because, quite frankly, if you're on an intermediate tyre right now, you should be flying. You should be catching everyone else up. And as soon as I say that, we go back toward the front, because Dan is, in fact, catching up the wet tyres. That didn't take too long.
It didn't take too long, as we got Chris, Perry, and Dan all coming up towards the final couple of corners. Chris goes up the inside and almost gets them moved down as he gets a little nudge from Dan. Perry has to take a little bit of a braking evasive action. Here comes Dan. Dan nearly hits Chris. That was close. And Perry loses out 2 positions in 4 corners.
Yeah, and that's not too surprising.
Perry, sorry, not Dan.
When you get to this point, Dan was still braking on intermediate, based on the intermediate lines, instead of trying to save the guys that are also racing against him. Bearing in mind they're both on wet tires, and he would probably know this, given the fact that he was in the pits at the same time, probably paying attention to everyone around him, as Dan now gets a lot better of a run and gets a very, very nice second place there. Bruma is in comfortable position in the lead of this race, but on wet tires that shouldn't be too big of a gap for too long.
No, Dan just seems to have pulled a huge gap to Chris there, so Chris is going to end up dragging Perry down this straight. Is Perry going to be the a good rival and give Chris a little bit of a push if he manages to get up there to try and catch Dan. Dan just seems to be in a little bit of no man's land right now.
Yeah.
Have a little look further back through the field, let's see what we can find, as we got Asseldorn and Dens are probably the closest to at the moment.
Yeah, someone had a little bit of a wide line further back. We'll go and have a look at that down the straight when we get to the first chicane here with Dens and Asseldorn. Perry losing out again to the front to the front three even, as he is now comfortably off the back of Chris. You know, Wedley in 8th, Alfaxid in 9th, Cord in 10th, Ben, well, on a medium tyre now.
Ben's on the mediums and with a full tank now.
Yeah, and
I think you're right.
A dry enough line.
It is. So I think Ben has stopped early. To try and gain the undercut advantage.
The only issue is that he's pitted onto a medium tyre, and there's still 6 laps here. If he can make the tyres go 5 normally, I don't know if he could, but just saying an if here. If he can make the tyre go...
He's just outbroke himself and goes straight into the damp part of the track. There we go. Now he's back onto the dry part. And here comes Dan on Broomer. Dan's caught right up to Broomer. Broomer's on wet tyres. And here comes Dan at the inside and move done.
Yeah, and you can tell that the people who went in and went onto wet tyres just made a very premature move. Oh, someone got very deep in the background.
He's gone really wide.
Yeah, apparently we've been raining for a lap and a half and nobody understands what driving is anymore.
No, and you're correct. From a lap ago, look, there's a dry line. Look at the moisture meter on the bottom left. It is. I'd say it's probably dry enough for dry tyres.
Yeah,
here comes Chris and Broomer. Chris is going around the outside now, the inside. He's not quite alongside enough, and Perry and Asseldorn are at it as well. A little bit further back as Asseldorn tries to go around the outside of Perry. Perry blocking it off nicely. Still has a little look at the inside just before the penalty line. Alongside, and Asseldorn does it.
I was about to say, just to bring up the point again, Asseldorn's intermediate tyres are definitely helping him out here. Now, the real question is, who's going to be the smart ones here? Who's going to go in on this lap to a soft tyre? Because that is what you have to do.
Can I drag your attention forward as we got Broomer, who was in first at the start of this lap, and in the space of about 3 or 4 corners, he's gone from first to 4th. Dens has got him, and Chris has got him.
Yeah, and it's, well, and now, Broomer's on the wet tyres, and he is not handling this drier track with those tyres, as you would expect. As Dan's on intermediates, Chris is on wets, he's doing well enough to hold on. And then you've got Dan on intermediates who is leading the race. From now on, from here on out, you wouldn't be backing against the favourite. Dan is very clearly the favourite.
Dan's carried on.
And Chris has gone in.
Chris has gone in. Dan's carried on.
Broomer's gone in.
Interesting.
Perry in as well. Pasty's going to follow him. So we're 4 guys off the wet tyres. And 4 guys that stayed out so far. Claude stays out. Faxon stays out and has a penalty. Ben is already on the medium tyre and should be starting to catch up.
Can I just point out, Arfax is still on wet tyres. He stayed out on wets.
I'm not entirely sure what he is going to achieve with this. The intermediate tyres I can kind of understand. And maybe you want to play it safe and go 1 more, albeit it is objectively the wrong decision. I can understand that, but if you're on a wet tyre right now, you just can't. You're not going to get away with it.
No, you're not. Now, if it's right, I just want to keep an eye on the sector times from Ben to Dan, because Dan has just set a 1.7 purple, and I kind of want to see what Ben can do. Ben's still in 11th. He's nowhere near the back of Perry.
And they're all out.
He's on softs.
Softs are Pasty, softs are Bruner. Chris also on soft, so I think we might have just seen Chris take the lead of the race again.
Chris might have just taken the net lead, and unfortunately for Ben, not able to make that undercut work as Chris just gets a monumental gap from Broomer.
Yeah, I would also love to have seen how this race would have panned out if Ben hadn't somehow found 5 seconds worth of penalties in that the last couple of laps.
I think.
Oh, we still
wait,
got spins! Synchronized spinning here from Basti and Bruma, as I think they may have just touched the wet line. Yeah, they did. Oh, synchronized
Oh,
spinning,
boys.
and the
And there goes
seas have
Perry.
parted for Perry.
And there goes Ben. Ben survived going through all there. I think he's kept his foot planted. So this is good for Ben because he's now taken, I think, the net third, if they're quick enough.
Yeah, I think Chris and Perry are now in control of this race from here on out.
Providing they do not go wide and they keep on the dry line, I believe you are correct. I think this is the net leader that we are looking at. But looking further up the grid, we got Dan from Dens, from
Macedon.
Macedon. So I keep getting his name mixed up as Macedon, and is closing up to Dens. But he has a half-second penalty. Wesley in fourth in no man's land. We got Claus in fifth, also in no man's land. We then got Arfax taking off the wet or intermediate tyre runners in sixth, also in no man's land with a 1 second penalty.
And is Chris going to peek into the background yet? No, he's not quite going to. As we continue, someone else has had a bit of an issue here. I think it's our Faxon. Let's have a quick look. Oh, yep, there's no braking. In terms of braking, we have no braking. That McLaren just steers right off into the gravel. Wesley's got a penalty. Hasseldor and Dens are still going at it. And Dan is just trying to get himself toward the end of the lap because I think he's clicked on at this point. He's made the wrong decision.
I think he has, as we got Hasseldor all over the back of Dens. He's trying to get past Dens to try and burn up a little bit of time. But I don't think it's going to quite work, and I don't think it's going to matter too much because of that penalty.
Yeah, Dens is going to hold on now because Hasseldor's going to take that half second. They're going to go into the pit to the end of the end. That's smart from Dens because they need to keep the tyres just that little bit wet so they can keep the tyres rolling even though they're on intermediate. And that's the admission of, I know I've screwed up. That's how you know somebody's messed their strategy up, if they're going to go and do that to try and save their tyre.
Now, we've got 5 laps left. Dens is on half a tank. What's Dan on? Let's have a little look. Dan's on just over half a tank. Obviously, there's going to be fuel. I reckon there's going to be refueling. Do you reckon anyone's going to risk slightly underfueling but fuel saving?
I don't think so. I don't think it's worth it. I think you need to be flat out for the rest of this race because you've got a long way to go now, especially if you made this mistake of staying out 1 lap too long. As we've just seen the free, and in comes Wesley, who's still on a wet tyre, which is definitely the wrong decision. He's now got a penalty as well. Claus coming in just behind him. Faxon surely has to come in, and yep, now we'll see some screaming wet tyres that are more than halfway done as Chris is now coming up to the final chicane, which is not good news if you're anyone at the front of the grid.
No, it's not, as Arfax has literally probably just gone in a box as Chris is coming through the final chicane, so...
And that just proves, look at that outlap and the 422 compared to like Arfax's last lap, which was the 422 in itself, even with the penalty. Oh,
what's happened here?
So Dan's got out in the lead of the race and Tez cruising immediately. He is. Chris is here as well. Chris is coming out. You'll see Dan. Dan just, crosses the line. 3 second time penalty for spinning. And Chris will just say thank you very much.
It's the wet pit lane. No one's
Dens is gone as well.
Because there goes Dens. As we got Perry and Ben coming in as well.
Absolute carnage on the start of this, on the start of the third stint, I guess, for everyone at this point. And Dan's managed to get out, but his 3 second time penalty is going to put him at risk for Perry and Ben. And that will probably make it very easy for Perry and Ben to just blast right by when it comes to Indianapolis later on in this lap.
They will. So Chris has got a comfortable lead. An incredibly comfortable lead. Dan's got a 3 second penalty, so that's going to push him back to P5 as
Ooh.
Asti in the background is drifting.
Yeah, he did not enjoy that. Turk
But
Rouge trying to get on the lap.
don't have a drifting competition yet, but the idea's in place. It's not there yet.
Yeah, and then we've got Perry just catching up to Dan. They're both on soft tyres. Ben's on mediums, probably wishing he was on a soft tyre right now. Dan's just hanging on for now. He won't be here. I said he's hanging on. That's quite literally the definition of hanging on. One of the two of his tyres going into the wet part of the track. And, well, quite frankly, in a track like this, you can't afford to do that because those Sarthe will not like it. And you will just, well, I guess you'll do that. And that will allow for Perry to just stroll on into this second chicane and should be past Dan by the time we hit it.
It should be. Dan, you made an absolute epic save in Bathurst many, many weeks ago, but this is not the time to perform another one.
Nope.
Nor is this the track you...
The issue that Dan's got now is that 3-second time penalty might drag him back to his teammate.
I think it's going to take him back to Asti.
A 3-second time penalty is a huge, huge thing when you're coming out of that corner. Acceleration is key, and then you just don't have it because the game's just like, here, have a 3-second penalty, which is effectively the equivalent of about a 5-second penalty, realistically, if you tie after you factor in getting back up to full speed. Now we're heading down towards Indianapolis. Perry currently second, Dan in third, but has a 3-second time penalty, as we've been stressing. Ben in fourth. Vassador is currently in fifth in the picture. Same with Pasti. Further back, here comes Perry again, just hanging in against Dan, going to the inside now as we head towards Indianapolis. Can they hang on to their cars now? Dan's got it, but is he going to hold it?
He's going to hold it as Perry gets a little squiggly, and Ben and Perry are getting a little bit squiggly and touchy, going through Indianapolis, coming up towards the penalty line. Now Dan's going to lose out. Considering the gap he's got, I think definitely going to drop him behind his teammate. I reckon Patty might have a go if there's enough space. There goes Assadon, and Dan goes in behind. So yeah, Patty wasn't quite there.
He's nowhere near. Absolutely nowhere near. But yeah, Dan's just going to have a little bit of time now to catch up to his own teammate. And he's probably going to use the Porsche curve to do that as well as possible. Ben is on the medium tyre, so Perry doesn't really have anything to worry about here in second place, if I'm honest. And does Chris want to drive with anyone else, or is he checked done? He's checked out. He's comfortably ahead of anyone else on this grid right now.
He is. Let's see what sort of lap time he did, because the fastest lap is a 4:06.1 from Ben. As Chris goes across the line, it's a 4:06 dead. So it's about 1/10 of a second off as Ben and Perry come back together. So I think Perry might have had a little bit of a moment, because Ben's all over the back of him now. So we got Dan all over coming up to the back of his teammate as well.
We might see some team orders here from the Lexus in a half a lap's time when we get past Turk Rouge into the Mulsanne Straight, because Assador not fighting for a championship. Dan is, and Dan's championship rival is currently 2 places ahead of him.
Dan might end up bumping his teammate on to go and attack Assadon, so he keeps attack Assadon to go and attack Ben. So that means then Assadon and Ben can fight, and Dan can try and take Ben's position and try and fight Perry. That would be the ideal scenario for Dan on the Lexus.
Oh, he's not going to get it though, because Assador has half-spun the car.
But Dan's going to be the good teammate. He's going to give him a good push. And I think Ben's had a moment, because Perry's just checked out.
Yeah, Perry got over in front now. The slipstream not going to be effective from Perry to behind. Now there goes Assador. Will Dan follow up through? There's a hold there for the Lexus as if he wanted it, and he got it. And Ben is the city duck this time as the two Lexuses move up into third and fourth.
Yeah, I think Ben's really wishing he had that soft tyre now with 3 laps to go. Those soft tyres are not going to be disappearing at any time soon. Assadon seems to get a better exit than Dan, but there's still slipstream in effect for Dan. I think Ben's a bit too far back for the slipstream. It doesn't look like Ben's gaining much speed there. So I think the two Lexuses have done the job.
Yeah, either way, they're trying to go back towards Perry now. I think you see with the bump draft in there between Dan and Asseldor. But there will be, before the end of this race, if not just naturally on track, you'll see Asseldor move out the way for his teammate. His teammate absolutely needs the points. Given the fact that he is in control of the championship at the moment against Ben. Ben usually winning the sprint races, not doing well in the feature races, and it's
As we can
definitely
see,
Achilles' heel.
Dan's playing with his throttle, so he's wanting to stay behind at the moment because of the position they're in. We've got Perry from Asador from Dan. Ben's not in this picture at all. Ben's out this picture.
Yeah, and it
So
surprises me just a little, because if I was Dan, maybe getting in front of Asador, being the second man in the train so you can get in front of Perry real quick, may just be the play, unless he's going to try and get Asador through and then himself through, which is risky, because if you try and force him to both you through, you've got to get it done, and well, as soon as they say that, they pretty much get that done immediately, and that
they
is
do.
pretty well done by the Lexus drivers.
Have these two Lexus drivers got nitrous on their cars or something? Because they at the moment seem to be in a completely different league to the rest of the cars.
They're just effectively working together as a team, giving each other the slip when necessary, and dipping out of Perry, so Perry doesn't get any benefits either, and Perry is a sitting duck.
With Perry staying with Dan, so they're all sort of equally distanced apart. Chris has just gone past the top of our screen in that final shot, so these Lexus drivers have got effectively 2.25 laps left to try and contest Chris's lead, which I don't think they're going to do. I think that's a bit too much of an ask. So we've got Perry and Dan, Perry all over the back of Dan as Altadorn's checked out.
Yeah, Asador's gained a little bit of a gap. That gap won't last. We'll hit the straight not that long from here, and then Dan will start to work that back. Asador won't let his teammate drop out of the slipstream because he knows how valuable it is, and he knows how valuable these championship points currently are to his teammate as well. So he can't really, if Asador sees that second gap going, then realistically you'll see Asador start to move backwards, try and give a little bit of help to his teammate.
And here we go, Perry's had a little moment. Perry's dropped right off the back of Dan, so now the two Lexuses are free.
Again, the teamwork is just making the other drivers make a mistake or two, given the opportunities which they're currently taking, albeit that amount of opportunities is finished now, because Chris is essentially half a sector ahead of anybody else on the track.
Yes, I'm just looking a little bit further back through. We got Pasty in 8th, Claus in 7th, Brummer in 6th, we got Ben in 5th, we got Wednesday in 9th. Pasty's got a 1 second time penalty. The Knight's Dens is in 10th, and we got Arfax unfortunately in 11th.
Yeah, Arfax's strategy definitely did not work today whatsoever. He went in 1 lap late, he was on the wets, it was never really a good looking choice in the first place to go onto the wets. It just some of these guys playing jumping the gun just a little bit too soon. I'm not entirely sure why he's deciding to drive on the wet part of the track now. That's probably not the smartest decision. Let's see what we can find further up the grid. Second penalty for Pasty is mute because he's nowhere near Wesley. Claus is nowhere near Brummer either. And everyone is starting to just drive on their own now. Perry is seeing the two Lexus up ahead who are using the slipstream and the bump drafts again to start making a dent into the Supra's lead.
It is coming down. Chris is not as far ahead as he was previous lap. Obviously, the slipstream and bump draft is a massive effect, but he's not that far ahead. If the Lexus team keep this up, it could potentially be possible.
The only issue is they've started this a bit too late, I think. They needed an extra lap or so just to get onto the back of that Supra. I think that Supra shouldn't really be in any danger of it unless he makes danger of its own fruition here.
There's not really much going on, was there?
Oh, he said it's not very much going on. Assad almost went to prove him wrong immediately.
I'm going to shut my mouth whenever I say things like that coming out of the corner. Commentator's curse has happened too much recently. You cursed me in Bathurst, you've cursed Ross. But that's just yourself.
Yeah, of course. That's usually how these races work. Obviously, Ross not here today, so I can't take the piss out of him, which is a slight shame. He also can't take the piss out of me in terms of the Le Mans either, so I guess we're even.
Oh,
I
as
know,
we look
right?
a little bit, yeah, as we look a little bit further back, coming up to that little bus stop chicane thing, we've got a couple of cars now starting to group up. They're not really gaining much different distance. They're not really losing too much. I think Claus is catching up to Broome, and I think that's going to be really the only thing fight-wise going to happen unless they bump draft each other.
Yeah, it's not really an awful lot happening here, I don't think, and I don't think it's going to happen much in this race either because, well, Ben, when you actually put him on the right tyres, on the right track and everything, is definitely the fastest guy on the grid. Broomer and Claude, well, Claude we know has not had the greatest of seasons. Broomer as well, actually, for that measure, it's had its chances to have a good season, I'll say that much. Usually shoots himself in the foot very, very, very heavily, and
So we've
I
got
don't.
claws all over the back of Broomer. Sorry to interrupt. There's claws. He's now going side by side coming up towards the chicane. You don't really want to be side by side through here, as you and I proved that last season in the practice session. The claws goes through. Claws is up to 6th position.
Yeah, you've reminded me of a core memory there. It's almost that practice session mirrors the practice session I had before the Monday races. Monday race for Tier 3 as well, spinning repeatedly after getting shoved in a chicane. That is pretty apt to Le Mans as a whole, to be honest with you. And I think Chris agrees, as we saw him get shoved through a chicane earlier on in the race as well. Ben is in a little bit of an issue, and his teammate is absolutely flying.
His teammate is, if these two are talking to each other at all, which some drivers do, these two need to work together now. Two teammates are together. They're probably they're way too far back for Perry, but they could at least sort of push each other as Claus goes really wide, running it really wide, risking it there, going on to the damp part of the track because he gets a half-second time penalty.
Yep, which means he probably went a little bit too wide. Going on to the Moorstown straight for certain, as he's
Ben's
now.
indicators on. Ben's indicating.
Ben's trying to get his teammate by, but he's not listening at all. And there he goes. A bit sketchily here, may I add. But he does go nonetheless, and I think that was just a case of Ben's asking Claude to get in front, so Ben can try and do a little bit of bump drafting, get his teammate closer to Perry, because Perry is not in the sights of those Lexuses anymore.
No, he's not even in the same hemisphere. As we got Dan and Dawn have done the swap. I'm not sure when that happened, and there they are. So I think you're right. I think it's a bit too much of an ask to go and get Chris. This is now Chris's race to lose. The only get through the corner, thank you. The only way Chris is going to lose this race now is if Chris makes a mistake.
I love how you had to pause through the corner just to make sure the commentator's curse doesn't take effect until after the corner. That's brilliant.
If Ross was in this race, I would have carried on saying it because I can. But no, Chris has had a couple of rough races, I think, and I think he's missed one or two recently. So it'll be good. It'll be good for him, and it'll be good for the Super team to really gain some good points from today. Dan in second. Dan's going to look at extending his championship lead from Ben, who's all the way down in 7th. Hang on a second. What's happened to Ben? Because Ben was 6th and we got Broomer in front of Ben. What have we missed?
The answer apparently happened a while ago. Jesus. Broomer got past him there. It's just a straight line speed issue, I'm guessing. Ben just having a bit. Yeah, Ben's just got no pace on the medium tyres. That's all it is. Never really stood a chance, did he?
No. Is he fuel saving? Do you reckon? Has he got enough fuel to get to the end?
either way, I think he was cooked anyway, because that soft tyre against the medium tyre, and, well, you're never really going to win that battle.
No, you're not. I just sort of looked at the leaderboard thinking, oh, who's gone where, and I was just like, hang on a minute. That was not the order it was a couple of minutes ago.
Yep. Also, at the front, it's literally 2 corners now. It was the entire half sector a lap or 2 ago. It's 2 corners that split Chris and Dan. So, whilst you're right, it's probably going to be a little bit more closer than Chris would like it. I still think it was 1 lap too little, too late for those Lexus drivers.
Had Dan not had that 3-second penalty and that huge spin coming out of the pit lane, I reckon it might have been doable, but his teammate wouldn't have been there. So as Ben gets a little squiggly coming out of this little section just there,
yeah,
Claus is going to take his half-second penalty, which is going to bring I think it won't bring Brummer back into it, but I think it's going to be a bit close. Or it's going to be slipstream potential.
it's certainly going to bring Brummer into slipstream, maybe into the Mulsanne next lap, but Claude will hold on as we head into the Porsche curves on lap 9, and maybe have a battle for 5th on the final lap if Brummer can hold his car, which I don't think he's actually got close enough to Claude to really make anything happen.
No, he hasn't. He wasn't able to quite get close enough. As we keep looking forward, if we can, we've got Perry sort of in no man's land. We've got Dan and Asseldon together, and Chris is
in the first chicane. Yeah, there's no chance. This has been extremely comfortable after getting the strategy very right. Maybe not the strategy part to go onto the wets, but coming back onto the softs was absolutely the right timing to do that, and he got away. And a bit fortunate with Dan's spin, and may have had this race look a little bit different, but Chris has had no real challenge since getting onto these soft tires.
No, I remember saying that it's Dan's race to lose, but I was actually very heavily considering saying it's going to be Chris that's going to win. And I kind of wish I said Chris now, because, well, he's got a commanding lead. Something I think has happened to those 2 Lexuses, because Chris has just disappeared.
I think it's more just a case of Chris actually pulling off the first sector as he wanted to this time, for the first time in a while. Perry also here, just trying to keep himself in 4th right now. He's got basically all the time in the world for the car behind, and not really in the chance of getting the 2 Lexus in front. Now we've got Brummer and Claude. They go down to the first chicane. It doesn't look like Brummer's going to be close enough to make any sort of fight out of this either.
So I wouldn't speak so soon, as Claus goes a little bit wide. I think his tyres might be a little bit damp, so he keeps it together.
You were right. It was Asseldor was just put in the YouTube chat that they were fuel saving. They had underfueled just a little bit in an attempt to try and get back at Chris, and, well, I guess that attempt didn't work. It did work to get them into 2nd and 3rd, but nothing further than that.
Yeah, I had a feeling like a little bit of fuel saving might have happened, because they came out very close to Chris. Something similar happened to me on this race on Monday, which eventually, when yours truly manages to catch up Tier 4, you might find out.
I'm definitely getting on it. Don't you worry.
You're as bad as the dude.
At least mine will be done by the time fucking week 8 rolled around. Get out of here.
I mean, to be fair, I'm still waiting for the dude to commentate the one race I actually won.
Hello, whack. To be fair, I still haven't done that Tier 4 from like 3 seasons.
Well, you've just dubbed yourself in it.
Well, he'll remind me anyway. He does it regularly on a Monday night. Claude's still ahead of Brummer, but Brummer is a lot closer than he was beforehand. But I think he might be just running out of time. Yeah, he's definitely running out of time now to make that move stick. He's probably arrived on the scene 1 corner too late, which means we're going to head.
Can I just point your eyes to the mini map? Chris has got Bloody commanding lead.
Yep, it's the fuel saving that the Lexuses were doing. They are definitely underfueled, and you can prove that. Chris, however, didn't underfuel. Didn't really get the tyre strategy wrong in the end. Bailed out by the fact that they went off the wets at the right time. And in the end, no one got anywhere near. Dan had to spin out the pits and Chris were gone. And he's been gone since that point. And he's won the feature here in Le Mans in commanding fashion.
Absolutely commanding, what a drive. And Dan comes through from finishing, starting 9th, 10th on the grid, and he comes through finishing in 2nd. So what a fantastic drive from him. We got Assadorn in 3rd, a bit unlucky for him considering he started higher. We got Perry in 4th. We got Claus making up good positions. He's got a good strong position, finishing for the first time this season. Seems like he's comfortable and he's definitely happy about it. So we got Brummer in 6th. We got Ben.
Where Ben and Wesley? Where the hell did Wesley come from? Against Ben here, Ben's just about held on for 7th in the end.
I think Ben was just fuel saving so much because I think he was under fueled. As we got Wesley in 8th, we got Dens in 9th. As Wesley takes the current fastest lap in a BRZ. As we got Basti in 10th. As he comes across the lines and takes the fastest lap for... No, Arfax does.
The track drying up. The track drying up right at the end there. We'd hit dry track and Arfax will take the point. But
I was about to say a BRZ took the fastest lap, but just missed out to Arfax.
Yeah, it's the McLaren having the fastest lap in a Le Mans race instead. I would say I'd be surprised at that, but I mean, if you drive the McLaren right, you can get anything out of that McLaren. But in the end of the day, albeit Ben may have won the sprint race, and we have a very familiar story where Dan is going to extend the lead in the championship because he's just outdone him in the feature race, the Achilles heel for Ben so far this season.
It is. So, for a clarification, we have got Dan on 205 points. We have got Ben on 172. 33-point difference. Ben has to have a sprint and a feature victory in the next race at Tokyo to have really a unique chance of fighting this championship, I think.
Yeah, I think it's definitely Dan's championship to lose now rather than Ben's to win. Dan's just got one of those leads where, quite frankly, he could have this wrapped up next week in Tokyo.
He could. If he has another solid performance and a solid week like this week, yeah, you're right, I think he can. On the constructors' side, the Lexus has 314 points, the BMW 202. There is a whole 112 point difference in the constructors.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. I think the titles only heading, both titles are only heading one way this season in Tier 2. We're not going to get a championship fight like we thought we were going to. But with that being said, I think that's everything we had for Le Mans.
Apart from Tier 4.
I'll get there eventually. That's everything we had for Tier 2 in Le Mans anyway. I've had a great time. He's been gun mad. And we'll see you guys probably again this time next week. In a bit.
In a bit.